Okay, Miho is trembling in fear. Trembling. The propane alarm is going off. Okay. Wow, that's a nervous pant. He doesn't usually get to that point. It's okay. I know. Don't stop. So we went outside to go to the bathroom because the propane thing was going off and bothering them, and there was a dog waiting out there outside for us. Since Miho doesn't really get along with other dogs, especially big dogs, now I tried to get them to go back inside, and they didn't want to, and they were freaking out, and I was freaking out, and I had to literally drag them back inside, and that was awful. And the storage unit across from me, it was only open like maybe that much, and now it's open like a lot more, enough for a person to crawl under, especially a small person. It's been a fucking day. I went into Portland to go pick up my bus from Alex at AutoX, who's had it for weeks, in order to fix the diesel heater, and also to fix the water pump. And in those weeks, he did none of those things. He said he fixed the heater. I drove it an hour and a half, 2 hours back to the coast, and I turned on the heater because I needed to wait to get back in the building, and it started smoking and leaking what I'm assuming to be diesel outside of the bottom of my bus. There is a dent and a scratch on it that was not there when I dropped it off. But most importantly, as soon as I started driving it, I knew something was wrong. And my conclusion is, without any yet solid proof, is that he, in connection with these organized crime guys, took out my engine that had 13,000 miles on it, pretty much the main reason I bought the bus, and replaced it with probably a Land Rover engine that has hundreds of thousands of miles on it. That's what I'm guessing. There's an area, and I'll make a video of it, where they took it off the block, off of the cylinder, and it now, if you rub your finger on it, paint comes off, silver paint. Since it's 28 years old, there really shouldn't be any paint coming off of it like that. There's a bunch of like bolts missing. I'm guessing when they took out the engine and stuff, they didn't keep track of their bolts, which is a misstep on their part. Anyhow, the propane light, the alarm is going off, which is making it, I turned off the water heater, I turned off the refrigerator, and turned off the heater. And we'll see. There's definitely toxic shit in there. Is it propane? I don't smell propane. Propane does have a smell. So, carbon monoxide, I don't know about that. I think that has a smell as well. I think they made it so it does have a smell. So you know. But I'm not sure. I have to research that for a sec. Anyhow, yeah, they have to take everything. It's so all-encompassing. You know, raping, sodomizing, torturing, just terrorizing my animals. I left them here all day, and from the way that they were acting, I would guess someone came in and spent time with them. And I would guess that they also had plenty of time to loop the video, because there is surveillance here, but I know how easy that is for them to do. So, it's just not that hard. if someone wants to and they have the time, and that means from, say, 9 in the morning till 4 or 5 in the afternoon, then yeah, that's plenty of time to get video, still video where nothing's going on, and replace that with whatever video you have that you don't want on there. And I don't care how it sounds. I've had experience of it firsthand. So, because I had cameras in my house, and oh, sweetie, I had cameras in my house, and this is extreme anxiety, the panting. He rarely does that in response, but he was just quivering and shaking and quivering. Part of that was my need to kind of violently get them back into the vehicle because they were both struggling because they didn't want to go back in because of the alarm. And there was a dog out there, and I did not want there to be a big dog fight or anybody getting hurt. Especially this one here. So, I'm guessing it is what she looks like, a drug addict living on this property, and despite the fact that she was told she can't have people over here and coming, they'll come, and they know her, so, because she's a drug addict. So, I saw her, and she looked like a evil, crappy drug addict. One of those people that just turns evil because they are so drug-addled. I'm sure in the drug world it is very much the strong and the weak. And the strong would be the evil ones. And then strong, but then they just eat up all the weak ones. So, anyhow, I just wanted to make note of everything. I'm going to make a video about the engine and show it and post it online. And the dents and the scratches. Seems to be some other weird stuff by the back door. They just had so much time with it, and I made a huge mistake, letting that person touch my bus, leaving it on his property, where he complained to try to set himself up for having a reason if something were to happen by telling me that there were people walking around in his yard. But then every time I went to see the bus, it was wide open. In fact, one day the door was just actually open, but all the locks unlocked and everything. So if you have concerns about vehicles that you're working on, number one, you'd call the police, because those are your, customers' vehicles, and that should be concerning for you if you have a business. But also that you would actually keep them locked then. So, but yeah, that would be my guess at this point, is that he took my engine, he stole my engine, and replaced it with a shitty engine. And these are the two reasons why. Because that bus didn't like to go over, really, it felt most comfortable top 75 kilometers, which is like, 48, 50 miles per hour, I think, something like that, and which is slow. I could push it higher at certain times, certain flat land, whatever, but there would be this sort of like strain to it, and you could feel that you were pushing it, and it wasn't like super happy, but it wasn't like dying or anything. So I just tended to not push it as much as I could, and and keep it happy, because I love that bus. I respect it. It's 28 years old, and when I jumped in it, that engine was just awesome. Awesome. And it sounded like a bus, has that deep throttle to it, and that deep throttle is gone. It's gone. And, yeah. Usually when I was driving it for pretty much almost at least 18 hours a day, or whatever, and it had that deep throttle until you tried to push it to higher things, and it did that kind of straining. You can just kind of feel it straining. And now, when I drove it today, it was straining at every point from start to go, from 0 to 80 kilometers, straining and resisting, and a little teeny whine to it. Not my engine. Not my engine. This is so fucking ridiculous. So, he's a sack of shit. Yep. And this vehicle suddenly has 9,000 miles on it in 1 month. Since I've literally not left really the upper part of Oregon and the very lower part of Washington State for all these days, because I've been stranded here because this vehicle sucks shit that he sold to me. And I don't even think it can go into 4-low, which would now make it not a 4-wheel drive. Only half of a 4-wheel drive. So, that's a lot of fraud. It's a lot of theft, stealing my money, stealing my engine. So, supposed to have a serial number on there. I'm guessing that's why they removed it from the cylinder block, because I'm guessing it's on the cylinder block so they could maintain that it's still the same engine. But that's not my engine. I'm sorry. It was very much forefront in my mind when I picked that bus up that it was 28 years old. It only had 13,000 miles on it. And I was a little nervous that it really hadn't been driven its whole life, you know? It literally sat somewhere for 28 years, pretty much. And then it moved here to the United States and sat for another couple of months and didn't move. But when I got in it, despite the fact that the heater didn't work, the water pump didn't work, the engine sounded amazing. And now, it doesn't after 3 weeks at Alex at AutoX in Portland, Oregon. And that's the truth.